Hey y'all, welcome back to our podcast. My name's Sarah and I'm with AI Solutions. I have my partners here, Brody and Olivia, on this episode as well. This one is called Money Talks. So the last two episodes we covered were Ace Your Interview, where we talked about preparing for that. And then the second one was called Interview Finesse, where we talked through the actual process and putting those things in play. Both those can be found on any of our social media platforms, as well as anywhere you find your podcasts. So with this episode being titled Money Talks, that's definitely going to perk up some ears. That's going to get, a lot of people interested. I feel like this is definitely one of the episodes that people are going to pay the most attention to. We do have two more after this where we'll cover, building your resumes as well as our 2023 internship process. So be on the lookout for those. But this one is really important because this is where you're going to hear us as three recruiters at different stages in our career teach you how to negotiate a salary. There's always questions about this. Everyone does it a little bit differently. But this is just going to kind of help you cover what to do when that time comes. But I do want to make kind of a disclaimer before we go. Internship salary negotiations are going to be very different than full-time or permanent negotiations because a lot of internship salaries are predetermined if they are even paid. So here at AI Solutions, our internships are always paid, but that rate is predetermined before we even list the roles online. It's set based on the class of the student. So if you're a senior, you're going to make more than a freshman just because you have more knowledge and experience within your, college career. So just want to make sure everyone knows that moving forward. But again, it doesn't hurt to ask. Typically, those rates are locked. But this will hopefully help you learn, whether you're going into your first job or just get you excited for moving on past that internship into these questions. Brody, you want to kick it off for us?
Yeah, so handling salary negotiations, it can be delicate, but very important aspect of the job offer process. So we're going to kind of give like a step-by-step guide on how to navigate salary negotiations effectively. So I'm going to let Olivia, it's kind of the same format as our last episode. We're going to kind of like before the negotiation, during, we'll kind of go through all those. So Olivia, why don't you take over, kind of run us through before the negotiation?
Awesome. So before the negotiation, you're going to want to, do your research and know the average salary range for the position in the industry and the location of the role.
Yep.
So, if you're applying for a job in a new location, then please make sure you look up the industry standards in that location. It's probably very different than where you're at now. Websites like Glassdoor, PayScale, industry reports, and others like that can be a helpful resource to find this information. And you're also going to want to make sure to evaluate your worth. So consider your skills, experience, education, and any unique qualifications you can bring to the table. Be prepared to express your value to the company and make sure you know your worth.
All right, so let me go back to what you just said. You said research industry standards, right? And I think you threw out PayScale, Glassdoor. There's a ton of them, right? So I always do software engineer because I feel like we hire tons of those. And every company's looking for software people, right? So that's our example. So if you type in software engineer into any of those platforms that we just mentioned to see what a salary would be, you're gonna get different numbers. They're gonna be probably pretty close to each other, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is look up multiple platforms. Don't just be like, well, this is what Glassdoor said, so that's what it is. No, I mean, look up a bunch, kind of get a range. Also, do not, especially as somebody coming fresh out of school, feel like you've got to be at that high end, right?
Yeah.
So, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but look up multiple ranges. And again, this is going to be about getting your foot in the door for your first opportunity. So
Yes,
definitely. Don't rule things out because you feel like you're underpaid to start off with.
Yes, but also don't ask for the lowest possible salary that you're comfortable with. That don't undervalue yourself.
No, yeah, and that's where Olivia just said, evaluate your worth, know what you're worth. That's part of it too. So what you're willing to accept. So another step in how to navigate salary negotiations is going to be basically how you consider the value of the experience you're receiving, or how you look at that as a whole. So I want you to ask yourself if the position you're being considered for is going to help you achieve your ultimate goal. So what is the value of the experience versus the value of the dollars, right? So let's say you've got one company offering you as an intern $25 and you've got another one offering you 20, right? And the one that's offering you 25 is in a field that's similar to what you want to do, but it's not ideal, right? But you've got this other job that's offering you 20 and it's exactly what you want to do long term. Don't get caught up in $5 an hour. And I'd even go as far as, I mean, internships are short, y'all, though. What are they, 3 months, right?
Yeah,
and
usually.
those can carry on, for different semesters, and you hopefully you establish a relationship with the company and do it year after year. But what if it's unpaid? And what if it's unpaid, but it's giving you experience that you can't get somewhere else to set you up for the career field you're wanting to go into? Yep. You've got to, that's what we're saying. Consider the value of the experience you're receiving. Don't get caught up in the dollars at this stage. Honestly, at this stage of your life, at this stage of your career, that's not something I get caught up in so much. Is it going to give you the type of experience you need to land a permanent role in the field you want long term?
Yep.
Also ask yourself, like, does this company that you're interning with, do they hire interns after graduation on a regular basis, right?
Yeah.
So what if you're doing an internship with a company? That's a fair question too. We might should have asked on another episode, like, hey, how often are you bringing interns on full time? Because if the answer is not very often, then what are you putting your time into? Something that's not going to have a job waiting on you when you finish.
Yeah.
I will say, plugging us, like, our goal is to bring interns on. I think a lot of companies do that, but we're very good about that. Our goal is to find interns that fit long term, that we want to hire and join our staff, as soon as they graduate school.
Yeah.
So,
And a lot of and we'll cover some of this in our recap of our 2023 intern season. But a lot of our interns are repeat interns. They come back summer after summer. And again, that comes with a pay increase because of where they're at in school. So that's another thing to, consider. And then they understand your value when you graduate. They understand where you're coming from.
yeah. So basically, like, in a nutshell, if you have multiple options, weigh out the short-term dollar differential against the long-term career development options, right? So weigh out what's best right now in my hand versus in the future, right? And just make sure you think through that. What sets you up for life after you graduate the best? That's what you want to look at.
Yep.
And then, so we talked about, basically that whole conversation was about intern. I don't even know if you'd call it negotiations, but intern, how
Understanding
to understanding and how to look at it, right? We're also going to briefly dive into, all right, now let's look forward, and you're ready to actually negotiate an offer, right? Remember, keep in mind that compensation, because again, this section we're talking about the value of the experience, right? So the value of an offer. Remember that compensation is not just about base salary. When you get a full-time or permanent offer, you've got to factor in benefits, bonuses, stock options, perks from the company. For internships, you're not getting all that. But when you get that full-time offer, don't just accept an offer because it's, $5,000, more than another offer. If you're interested in both the roles, look at the full picture. What are the benefits of the company? Like, I'm the old guy with kids in the room. So, like, benefits are very important to me. I'm also the old guy where my 401k, I'm like, pour stuff in, put stuff in. So you want to know what those things are. When you first graduate college, I didn't even know what 401k was. I was just like, what is this thing? Where's my money going? What's happening? So, just take all of that into, one comprehensive number before you just make a decision, short-term offers. So,
yeah. Also PTO. You didn't mention PTO. PTO is important, especially in the younger generations. I know Brody.
It's very important to Sarah. Sarah loves her PTO.
I love PTO. What can I say?
No, hey, no. It's okay. I'm picking at Sarah like I do too, and that was one of the things. I'm not going to tell exactly how my negotiation went here, but our boss's name is Christy, and she's great. And that was like one of the most important things to me. I was like, well, look, I'm at this company, and I'm accruing this much.
Yep.
I'm not, that's to me, because I've got a wife and 3 kids, like we're always going and doing stuff. That was so important I was like, I'm not leaving, for less vacation because that's too important to us.
Yeah.
And we were able to negotiate and talk through that. Yeah. So, PTO is very, very important. So, all right. So let's say now it's time to actually negotiate. You've done the interview. You're ready to start talking numbers. This sounds weird to say, but like, wait for the right time. Don't do this on the first call unless the manager brings it up.
Correct.
Right. I think 90%, if not 100% of companies, when you apply, you fill out an application and they all ask, what's your salary range? Or, what are you targeting, right? So they already know where you're at, right? We know the ballpark you're at. Don't come in day one being like, hey, yeah, here's my technical skills. Also, what does this pay? Like, it's just, we're not going to press you on that yet, and you shouldn't press the manager. So like, wait for the right time. Postpone those like until you actually get to the job offer. Because again, they wouldn't be talking to you unless they knew where you were at, right? With your application. So basically, but this is going to ensure like the employer's generally interested in hiring you. And so let's not push those things away. There's going to come a time. Don't make it be too early.
Yeah. If we need to cover it early, we'll let you know. Say you apply for something and you have the perfect skills, but you're, over our max budget. Specifically, our company and other companies that I've supported in the past, like if you're that good of a candidate, if you, put your salary as $20K more than they can actually pay, we're still going to talk to you. We're going to tell you up front, hey, you're over our max salary, but the interviewer still want to interview you. Like, we're not going to move forward with someone we know we can't afford, especially without telling you first.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, now let's say it's time to talk the numbers. One thing you want to do, you want to express enthusiasm about the role. If you genuinely have it, because I hope you have enthusiasm if you're looking to accept a job. But start that conversation off on a positive note with the manager, just letting them know, like, look, I'm excited about this job. I want it. And this is where, I don't know, I'm kind of pausing as I'm doing this. I'm like, we're giving away the
industry secrets.
The industry secret here. And I'm wondering, if I'm doing the right thing. I mean, but here's the deal. This is salary negotiations. This is any negotiation in anything in the world. You don't want to go first, right? Because whoever goes first, the other person
sets
knows.
The bar.
Sets the bar. So I'm going to let you in on something. So most jobs, we already know what our range is. We have those listed on our websites. We already know what they are. If you come in too high and you're shooting the moon, you're going to rule yourself out because we can't do it.
Yep.
And here's the deal. We'll tell you that too.
Yes.
We don't want to lose. So I'm kind of talking out both sides of my mouth. We don't want to lose you. So don't come in with crazy numbers. Come in with what is realistic. And that's the best way I know how to answer that for you. Here's the truth. I want the candidate, we've got your application and we know what you've put as your range. So we know that, right? So we kind of got you to shoot first anyway, right?
Yep.
But from your side, I'm just giving you that tip is if there's a way to work that in a conversation with the manager, like, what are y'all's expectations? What are y'all thinking for this role? It's an open conversation that goes back and forth.
Yep.
You've got to be realistic though. Look up those, I think we talked about at the beginning of this episode, you've got to look up what the industry standards are, know what your value is.
Definitely.
If you're coming in with crazy numbers, they're going to treat you like you're crazy.
Yep.
As you should be. I mean, like, hey, I'm fresh out of school. I'm seeking $120,000. Well, what are you talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like, where did you get this number from?
Whatever degree, if you can get paid with that, whatever degree you got, let me know. I'll go back to school and get that as well.
Yeah, there it is. So again, if the employer wants to go first, great. They're not always going to go first either. So don't like dig in like, well, I'm not saying a number until you say a number. Sometimes they're not. They've got your, and you know what they'll do? They'll be like, okay, well, we'll give you an offer and it's going to be on that lower end and we'll start it that way. That's one way to do it. Here's the deal. Be prepared to justify your request. When you have a salary, be prepared to justify it. You've got to be able to clearly articulate why you believe you deserve that salary. You need to be able to highlight why you're going to be deserving of it, skills, experience, any unique contributions you've made to the company. Just keep in mind that intern salaries are going to be predetermined, but later in life, these negotiations, you've got to be able to justify why you're getting what you're saying,
Yep.
So, and then lastly, be polite and professional. That may sound kind of ridiculous, but it's the truth. Like, you've got to be positive and professional. Like, this goes for both sides. This goes for me, Sarah, and Olivia too. Like, as you're doing salary negotiations, everybody wants the most money they can possibly get, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
Everybody gets, I want the most I can get. Olivia wants the most she can get. Sarah wants the most she can get. We all, and you do too. The person that's listening to this right now, you want the most you can get. It doesn't always match up with what the company can pay. So hear from the company when you give your number. If they come in under that, talk to them about it. Be polite about that. Be like, okay, well, I was really expecting this. Can you talk me through why, or, like, this is why I expect this. Just have an open conversation, and just be professional, have that professional tone throughout the negotiation, and don't be confrontational or making demands. Just be polite and courteous, and the managers and recruiter will do the same to you.
Yeah.
So
I mean, in the end, the easier you all are to work with, the more we want to work with you. So again, if your salary is a little outside of what we look for or what we offered, like Brody said, it is okay to come back and ask for justification. And if if a company can't give it to you, you may not want to, move on with them anyways. But here at AI, we're always going to be able to break that down with you. And again, we're in this industry. Brody is he's our, subject matter expert because he's got all the years of experience, but he's our old guy. But the rest of us, I mean, we're in this industry. We've been in this industry. We're technically industry professionals. We can, walk you through that, but we're not going to if you're rude or, putting off a bad impression.
Here's something else too. So think about this. If you're fresh out of school, and we have an entry level job open, we're going to have, honestly, a lot more people apply to that job. And we probably conducted more interviews. So, and I'm trying to say this politely, but you're not the end all be all, right? Yep. If you're coming in too high or you're being a little too pushy with numbers, well, guess what? We've got 4 or 5 other people that are similar to you. Okay. Versus someone who's got 15, 20 years of experience with a crazy skill set. They've got a little bit more bargaining room with us.
Right. Yeah.
And that's just the truth. And you have to realize that earlier in your career. Get your foot, man, if I were talking to my children right now, I'd be like, get your foot in the door. Get your foot in the door. That's the most important part. Mm-hmm. Then work your butt off and everything else will come. I truly believe that. Get your foot in the door.
Yep. No, I agree. Awesome. Well, then once you receive that offer, you go through those negotiations. It's okay to take time to consider that. I know I want to say industry standard, typically 24 hours is when people, that's how long people ask for it. They're like, hey, can I have 24 hours? Sometimes people ask for a week. That's not, depending on the role, sometimes that's fine. Sometimes it's, hey, we actually need to move forward. But if you ask for that time, it's typically granted. You want to go through the terms. You want to understand, like we mentioned earlier, all in package, what PTO you're getting, what benefits you're getting. If they're able to tell you how much benefits cost, ask that question as well, because that could make a huge difference, especially for someone just starting out in the game, because you're not used to already paying your insurance. Or if you are, you might have a really good deal through something, and coming into this, it's going to cost more. You need to take everything into consideration. If they haven't already given you the offer in writing, ask for it. A lot of places, they're going to do the verbal offer. They're going to see if you're comfortable with it during the negotiation period. But you do not officially have an offer from somewhere unless it is in writing.
Yeah. So go back. So you said industry standards 24 hours, right? Okay. And I think, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I think you mean from the time they verbally give you that offer,
yes.
Right? So there's a difference between the verbal offer and actually getting it, like Sarah said, in writing, right? So what she's saying is, hey, we want to offer you X amount of dollars to join our team. It is totally fine for you to say, awesome, I'm excited about that. Give me one day to get back with you.
Yeah.
And that gives you time to research and make sure you're feeling good about what you're doing. And then you're going to get that offer in writing. I think we do 3 days.
We do 3 days.
Some companies do 5, some do 2. I mean, it's different, right? Each company does their own, but 3 we feel like is plenty enough time. But again, just echoing what Sarah said, you've got 24 hours to say, let me even consider if I want the offer, right? Yeah. Then when you get it, then you've got 3 days to actually research. All right, let's do the math on these benefits. Let's do the math on the PTO, all that stuff, and make sure it's something you're interested in. Sorry, go ahead.
No, for sure. And another thing, if this offer is given to you on a verbal offer is given to you on a Friday, it's okay to say, can I take the weekend, or I need to, talk with my wife, my family, my partner, whatever the case is. If you're young and you're new and you want to talk to your mom, that's okay. You can call your parents and talk through it. You can ask for a little bit of time.
God, y'all are snowflakes.
The other thing too is be ready to compromise. There are instances, we're a defense contractor, so a lot of our contracts have certain pay scales that we have to adhere to.
Yep.
That's not to say there's not flexibility in those, but there are absolute maxes. And so there are times where we're not going to be able to go over, what we advertised on the roll or what we told you we could offer. And, that's okay, but maintain that understanding of we're doing everything that we can, but also make sure that your needs are met. Don't settle for less the further along in your career that you are. Another thing, stay professional regardless of the outcome. It may be you ask for a dollar amount that we cannot adhere to. We'll do everything we can to get you there, but if we can't, politely say, okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate all your time, but I don't think this is going to be the job for me. That is okay. You do not have to take every job offer that comes your way.
You know, it's funny too. That kind of reminds me it leads into don't burn bridges. And here's where I'm going with this. There's been multiple times where we talk to somebody, it doesn't work out. It literally just happened last week. We hired a guy, Olivia's nodding her head. We just hired someone last week who last year we gave them an offer. It didn't work out. And here they are a year later coming back, right? And we're able to work things out. So don't burn a bridge. Just like Sarah said, politely, like, hey, you know what? I appreciate it, but this time I'm going to do something. You never know a year from now or 2 years from now when you're going to come straight back to that same company you interviewed with. So.
Yeah, definitely. And here at AI, we always value that, the most. That's a perfect example of we're willing to look at people again. We're willing to renegotiate. Or if we can't hire you because you don't have a certain number of years of experience, you go get those years of experience. We're going to remember you when you come back. And if you were polite, that's automatically going to put your foot forward.
So I'm going to jump in with a totally different topic. So
Okay.
before we hit record on this, we were making small talk, and I was like, Olivia, how did your negotiation go with me? And Olivia, what did you say? How did it go?
I didn't negotiate. I didn't know that was a thing. I mean, I did a little bit, but I was too shy. I didn't know how to negotiate.
Too fresh.
Yeah, too fresh out of college. I didn't really know what I was talking about. So a podcast like this would have been awesome at the time.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I found that so funny. It's like, how did it go? She's like, I didn't negotiate. Whatever you told me, I just took. I was like,
I just went with it.
I wish they were all that simple. So don't be Olivia.
Yeah,
is
do
what we're
not
saying.
be like me. Do
I'm
your
just kidding.
research. And
But that
prepare.
also, kind of speaks to us and, kind of what we do. And we always try and take care of our employees. Because, what it worked out to is that it was fair and that you're comfortable, or else you would have quit. You wouldn't still be here.
I wouldn't have taken it if it wasn't fair.
So just a little plug. Go work for AI Solutions.
That's right.
All right. Well, that kind of covers everything that we wanted to hit. We hope that this was helpful and insightful to you coming from our side with our different ranges of experience. But we hope that you can take this into your internship, your first role, whether it's with us or a different company. We just want you guys to do well and be knowledgeable about what you're doing. So best of luck in your first or next salary negotiation. And thanks for listening, y'all.